When you got food in your teeth and you're about to go on live. What's up? Guys on Layne, I'm going to be on here for about 5 minutes. And arrogance. Oh, I am so offended that you think I'm arrogant. Oh! So I'm going to be on here about 5 minutes, and then I will switch over to Carbon Diet Coach. No audio. Hold up. Oh. So something happened. I was trying to use an old phone because I need to charge my new phone because, well, it's not new, but anyway. Long story short, hopefully we got it sorted. Sorry about that. Yeah, I still use my old iPhone 7 as like a music phone to hook up to my Bluetooth so I can film with this phone and not have the sound switch off. Anyway. So I'm going to be on Facebook and YouTube. This doesn't concern you guys. You guys are in the right spot. But on Instagram, I'm going to be on my personal social media for 5 minutes, and I'm going to switch over to Carbon Diet Coach. So make sure you're following Carbon Diet Coach. And after I do a few questions on here, I'll move over to Carbon Diet Coach, and you guys can follow me there. Damn, new haircut is on fleek, ain't it? All right. Hit me with your questions. What do you guys got? Layne, you bloody legend. He didn't say bloody, but I added the bloody because if he's saying legend, he's either UK or Australia. Still watch your DVD for motivation. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. All right. My biceps won't grow. Will you tell me about full range of motion or a technique? I have bad genetics. Well, first thing I would say is, how long have you been training? Because unless you've been training for 10 years consistently, you have no idea what your genetics are. I'm just going to be real with you. Like, you'll know if they're good pretty quick because, you'll see people blow up in a few years who have good genetics. But my legs were horrible when I got into competing. So I started lifting. Started lifting at age 14, and then I stopped at age 16 because I got my first girlfriend. And then I picked it up again at 17 and never dropped it after 17. I competed in my first bodybuilding show when I was 19. I am now 39 years old. Dating myself here. So when I did my first show, my legs were terrible. And that's after 2 years of training them hard. Did my second show, my legs were still terrible after 3 years of training them hard. Did my third set of shows, what's up, Sam? And 2 years after that, so I've been training them for 5 years hard, and they were a weakness, but they looked slightly less weak. They were still a glaring weakness. Then I took 4 years off. So this is almost a decade I've been training consistently, a decade I've been training consistently. And finally, when I did my first series of pro shows, my legs were kind of in line with the rest of my body. 5 years after that, I set a world record in the squat. It took me 17 years of consistent, bone-crushing, soul-sucking training before I got to the point where I was able to do that. Now, if I had listened to myself and listened to everybody else around me who said I had terrible genetics, I would have just given it up and I never would have done those things. But I committed to the process. I trusted the process. I trusted that if I put the work in, eventually they would not be small. Now, I will never have the best set of legs on stage, but they do not suck. I promise you, if you train your arms hard for 10 years consistently, you will not have bad arms. I promise. But the problem is, damn, I got hair sorry. The problem is most of you will not commit to 10 years of work. So I submit to you that if you would like to find out, we call this Schrodinger's cat, if you would like to find out if you have good or bad genetics, you will never find out unless you're willing to commit to a decade of work. So Schrodinger's cat says that if you put a cat in a box, it's term, but if you put a cat in a box and you leave for a period of time, if you come back, the cat will either be alive or dead. But you have no way to know if the cat is alive or dead unless you open the box. So what I would say to you is open the box and find out. But the only way to open the box and find out is to do a decade of hard work. I know that seems intimidating because many of you do not want to commit to that level of work unless you are guaranteed an outcome. Most of us are fine working really hard if we know that there's a pot of gold at the end. That is not difficult. I'm sorry, but even the most basic human, that's like a dog with a treat, okay? Do this and get the treat. What is difficult is committing to the work with no guarantee of an outcome. So I submit to you, commit yourself to the work. All right, that's Layne's introductory rant. Guys, on BioLayne, if you want to continue following along to this Q&A, please jump over to Carbon Diet Coach. Make sure you're following them. And I will continue the Q&A there, and you will get a chance to listen to me rant more. All right, hop on over. I'll be right back. Guys on Facebook and YouTube, just bear with me while I switch over. And I promise I'll start answering some of your questions. All right. No question today. Just wanted to say thanks for crushing. Sorry, I've got like my other camera in front of this and I can't see the screen. Just wanted to say thanks for crushing Gundry. Even eventually, after my brother called you a hater, he finally sees the light. I don't see how anybody can take what Gundry says seriously, but I guess there's a sucker born every minute. But I'm glad that your brother has seen the light. Can you get enough creatine from your diet, or should you supplement? So this reminds me of the Paul Saladino interview on Joe Rogan, where he said, you don't need supplemental creatine. All you need is just to eat steak. Just eat steak. So if you do the math, you need about 3.5 pounds of steak per day to get 5 grams of creatine. The problem is that it's about half of it gets destroyed from cooking. So unless you're eating raw steak, you're not getting enough. So you would actually need about 7 pounds daily of steak if you want to get an efficacious dose of creatine. What I would submit to you is it is far less expensive, far easier, and far more practical to simply just supplement. Basma says, I'm doing a reverse diet and weight training 5 times per week and no cardio. I'll be going on a 2-week vacation. It won't be weight training and probably won't be that active either. I'm not sure what to do with my calorie targets. Should I take them down to avoid gaining fat or stay the course? If you know that you are going to be less active and there's nothing you can really do about that, I guess what I would do is switch your goal or your rate of loss or whatever it is, and just have it manually recalculate your calories based on your new activity level. Don't select use current metabolism if you're concerned about that 1 week. Oh, that's awesome. Not a question. So far lost 70 pounds since October 2020 using carbon and the BioLayne workout builder. Thank you lots, Layne. Hey, thank you. That's badass. Congratulations. Sorry, I just used that a chance to get a cheeky flex in there, but that's awesome. I like that. Honestly, that makes us so happy to hear that. All right, Lisa asks, why do you even need to take creatine? Okay, guys, so Lisa, I'm not picking on you. A lot of people mess this up in terms of term. Hang on, let me just close this so everybody in the office isn't hearing me rant. So I hear people use the term need a lot and tend to be very blasé with that term. Listen, you don't need creatine. You don't need protein powder. You don't need a lot of things. You don't need weights. You don't need a gym to grow muscle. But that doesn't mean they aren't helpful tools. So if we look at effective supplements out there for improving lean body mass and strength, creatine is at the top of the list. And that is a body of literature that is over 30 years old and has literally thousands of studies and hundreds of thousands of data points. So if you are not interested in increased lean body mass or increased strength, then creatine may not be for you. But if you're interested in improving performance, improving strength, improving lean body mass, and you wish to do so at a very, very minimal cost, creatine, and I will say, if you're using any other supplement that claims to do any of those things and you're not using creatine, you are wasting your money comparatively. But no, you do not need it, but it doesn't mean it's not helpful. Important distinction. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just looking for questions. How does your app differ from MyFitnessPal? I'm new to the channel. Okay, well, good thing you mentioned you're new, because otherwise my mind was going to go. So MyFitnessPal is simply a tracker. And listen, I'm not looking to hate on MyFitnessPal. It is great, and it was the first of its kind that I think for tracking your macros. Awesome. If you enter in your information, it will give you a one-time calculation of what your macros should be that I would say is relatively inaccurate. It does not adjust that. So what our app does is when you sign up, you enter in your information, it will calculate much more accurately, in my opinion, because we spent a lot of time developing this. So it will calculate your macros based on your goal and individual metabolism. And then you will check in with the app every week, and based on how you progress in terms of, like, let's say your goal is fat loss, because a lot of people will do fat loss. Based on how you're progressing and the targeted rate of loss, the app may or may not adjust your macros to optimize your response. So for example, let's say it calculates the wrong macros. And you aren't losing weight quickly enough. The app will sense that and will make changes to your macronutrients in order to facilitate a rate of loss that is conducive to what the goal you selected was. So for example, when I've used the app for fat loss, and to be fair, if you ask my wife will tell you I'm a freak when it comes to consistency. It is not difficult for me to be consistent. I have built that consistency, what would you call it? I don't know. I've just built it over decades. It is second nature to me. If I decide I'm going to do something, I just do it. So I'm a perfect case study. The app has literally whenever I've tried to lose weight or gain weight, whatever I've selected as the average rate of loss or average rate of gain I've wanted, the app has absolutely nailed it, like down to the 10th of a pound. So if you are consistent, you weigh in daily, you check in on time, you track what you eat, you will get results. And the other thing is too, is our app has what's called a calorie planner. So for example, if you would like to do high and low calorie days, you can put those in. Or let's say you go out, you overeat on a day, you can adjust that day to reflect the calories you actually consumed, and then we'll automatically adjust your other days that are remaining. MyFitnessPal doesn't do that. And we're going to add a lot more stuff to the app. So I would say that MyFitnessPal is simply a tracker, whereas our app is meant to take the place of a nutrition coach. Now, there'll always be place for one-on-one coaching, but as an introductory, like $10 a month, not everybody can afford a $200 a month nutrition coach. So a $10 a month app is a great option. Lisa says, okay, need was the wrong word. Not one trainer or nutritionist has ever suggested it. Then I would say they're not very good at what they do. I'm not sure. Maybe you have never, I'm not sure what the conversations have been. If you have said that your goal is like lean body mass or strength, and you've been interested in supplements, somebody should have suggested that. I'm not sure how they didn't. Hey Layne, greetings from Newport Richie. What certifications can I obtain to further my knowledge when it comes to fitness? I have a baby, and right now might not be the best time to go for a BS or PhD. Well, if you're looking on just improving your nutrition knowledge, I have 2 short courses that are available called The Science of Nutrition and Advanced Nutrition, or Advanced Fat Loss Nutrition. And you can just go into my story on Instagram. There's some links in there. There's also links in my bio, but those are great options as well. Let's see here. Sorry. Oh, no. I pulled up the comment box and now it's okay. Let's see here. Starting tomorrow, set at 1,252 calories and super nervous. So this is something we get a lot. The app set my calories too low. I'm not saying that you're saying that, but some people are like, what do I do? Like, listen, if they're really too low, if they are truly too low, then you'll lose weight too quickly and the app will raise your calories anyway. So just be consistent and the app will work it out. All right, let's see what we got in the question boxes here. For medical reasons, I cannot have carbs. I'm guessing you must have epilepsy, is my guess. Our app does have a ketogenic option. So yes, you can select ketogenic when you're signing up and use that. But epilepsy is about the only thing I can think of that would be a reason, a medical reason to do that. Does meal frequency matter at all? 1 versus 3 versus 6. Meal frequency appears to not matter at all for fat loss. Doesn't matter at all. You get the same consuming 1 versus 6. I mean, there's some isolated studies that claim otherwise, but in the most tightly controlled metabolic ward studies, they show that there's no difference between meal frequency. Now, what may make a difference is protein distribution. There is some evidence that since the body cannot store protein really for use later, that and since there's a cap of anabolism to each meal, that there is some evidence that distributing your protein relatively evenly over like 3 or more meals may be beneficial. And there is some animal and human studies to back that up. What is the app? The app is called Carbon Diet Coach. Let's see here. Lisa says, I'm in your 16-week lifestyle challenge. The conversation of supplements never came up. I see. Okay. Well, yeah, so that's one of the things where, since we're primarily providing nutrition coaching, we don't usually like tell people what supplements to use, but I think if you asked your particular coach, they would absolutely tell you that like creatine is helpful. I think all of our coaches know that. So I think that should have been something to ask your coach for sure. Thanks for what you do. I hate to admit how stupid I feel after years of gaining and losing the same 50 pounds following fad diets. Carnivore nearly cost me my gallbladder. Thanks for all the debunking you do. So you're welcome, Richard. And don't feel stupid. These people prey on the desperation and insecurity of others. In fact, I will tell you guys a story real quick. I had a marketing team that I was interviewing a few years ago, and they talked about their cookbook for selling stuff. And part of their cookbook was literally trying to use people's insecurities to get them to buy things. And for lack of a better term, I didn't say this exactly, but I kind of said, you can get fucked. Like I'm never going to feel good about selling things those ways, which is probably why I'm not filthy rich. So, yeah. And like when it comes to carnivore, like it's a great example. People are always like, oh, well, look at all these, there's no studies to support it, but look at all these people getting results. That's what we call selection bias. People like you're not going to go into a carnivore group on Facebook and be like, hey, I almost lost my gallbladder and it really messed me up. Because what's going to happen? You're going to get victim blamed, and all these carnivore crazies are going to tell you why you did it wrong and it's actually your fault and you must have not been doing it right and all that kind of stuff. Like, I've been in those groups. It's like a bullying mentality. So, yeah, you don't hear these stories. People are like, oh, you get mad at Jason Fung, but he's helping people. No, he does help some people. Some people resonate with that. I also see the people who develop severe eating disorders, and like it absolutely messes them up big time. So like bad information always has unintended consequences. But Richard, I'm glad to know that you're enjoying the information that you're getting now. Fat loss forever, worth every penny. I bought your last copy at the 2019 Arnold. That's awesome. How important is sleep for fat loss and muscle growth? I'm a third-year medical student and I'm having lack of sleep. So this is a complicated issue. The research that we do have shows that it's probably pretty important. At least in the short term, there was a study where they had people either like spend over 8 hours in bed or less than 5.5, and they were in a fat loss phase. I don't believe they were resistance training, and they found that the people who were getting over 8 hours in bed basically lost almost all their weight from fat, whereas the people who were sleeping less than 5.5 hours a night, that they lost almost half from fat and half from lean body mass. Now, that sounds horrible, but I want to put a quick caveat with that. It is possible that it's more about what you're adapted to, meaning that in the initial phase, if you're sleep deprived, if you take somebody who's used to 8 hours of sleep and you put them down to 5.5, that there's a negative response. But it's also possible that they adapt to that. And so if somebody's used to 6 hours of sleep, perhaps that's not a linear effect. Perhaps at some point they stop losing lean body mass, that sort of thing. So I don't know. I'm speculating 100%. So I don't want to make it feel like I want to say that that's like, for sure how it is. I'm just saying before you just go, I'm not even going to bother lifting weights because I can't gain lean body mass. That's not true. You absolutely can. I'm just saying that, it's possible there is an adaptation. Oh, speaking of sleep. Huh. I have extreme bloating after all meals and especially post-workout. You need to go to a gastroenterologist. That's not normal. Go to a gastroenterologist. You might have any number of things. It could be like gastroparesis. It could be 100 different things. Just got carbon 2 days ago. Love the layout of the app. That's awesome. Do I suggest a protein shake immediately post-workout, or could you wait a few hours due to my busy schedule? I think that the idea that you need to consume a protein shake immediately after your workout is way overblown. I think it's probably a good idea to have a high protein feeding relatively in a relatively close window to post-workout. It doesn't have to be a protein shake. It can be another source of protein. But if a protein shake is more convenient, then you can use that. There's nothing magic about protein powders, guys. And I sell a protein powder through my company, Outwork Nutrition. But I would never tell you that you need a protein powder. It's somehow better than real food. It's not. It's just a convenient source of protein for people who have difficulty getting enough from their diet. And I don't think that there's anybody else who sells supplements who will be as straight as that. And you know what the sad thing is? I'll probably sell less protein because of it, but at least I'll fucking sleep better at night. Advice on what to look for to go from fat loss to reverse diet, then back to fat loss. Looking to optimize lean body mass retention. Down 50 pounds using Carbon Diet Coach. Awesome! Great job, Jason. He says, please don't ever change careers. Don't worry about it. I think I'm too long in the tooth at this point, to be honest. So I'm not exactly sure in your question. If you're asking like how long or like how to change it in the app, can you elaborate a little bit? Then maybe I can get back to you on that one. Here we go. So triggering. Why, in your own words, would you say Carbon Diet Coach is a better product than Avatar Nutrition app? So for those who are not familiar, Avatar Nutrition is the company I used to be a part of and I helped start in 2015. And it was a calculator slash website, nutrition coaching website, and now I believe they have an app. And I don't want to get into the details of it because I'm sure they did what they thought was best for them. But they voted me out of the company. They removed me from the company, the two of the other owners. And, long story short, they're still around. I don't keep up with them. So that being said, I can't tell you, I don't know about their app. I haven't used their app. I don't know the back end of their app, so I really can't speak to their app. I can tell you that I think our app is fabulous, and I think the people behind our app are fabulous, and I think our credentials are damn near untouchable in terms of, like, you look at the clients that I've worked with, you look at the clients that Holly's worked with, you look at my competitive resume, you look at Holly's competitive resume. We walk the walk. We talk the talk as coaches. Between the two of us, we have coached over 2,500 people in our careers. Now, again, not a dig at the owners of the other company. I know one is a dietitian who probably has worked with quite a few people, and the other was a personal trainer for a while. But I don't think they have nearly the experience that we do. And then our other owner, between Holly and I, is Keith Crocker, who's a registered dietitian. And between the three of us, we've probably worked with over 3,000 people. We walk the walk, we talk the talk. And we believe that our app is the best in the market, and we have worked hard to make it the best in the market. But what I would say is that if you enjoy the Avatar app, then hey, more power to you. I would say you try ours out, see what you think, and you can pick which one you like better. They're both, I think, similar priced. I know they raised their prices a while back, but I don't know if that's still the case. So yeah, I would say, try both and see what you prefer. Do I have a supplement line where we can get good quality supplements? My line is called Outwork Nutrition, and obviously I think they're high quality. So I'm not going to belabor that too much because that's a separate company, and this is for carbon. Okay, let's take a question from Instagram. That is a PhD thesis question. Oh, guys, real quick, if you ask me a thoughts on, please just don't ask it that way. It's so triggering for me. You need to provide some context. Jason, I've lost over 100 pounds twice in my life. Do I just wait around until I'm no longer dropping body fat, or does literature suggest a length of time not to exceed for a fat loss phase? So, okay, good question. So you're asking, when should you institute a reverse diet? Yeah, there's no literature that says that. What I would say is if you have a lot of weight to lose, I like using diet breaks and reverse dieting just in terms of your lifestyle. So like maybe, like when you lose, after you lose your first 50, you're going to reverse diet for 4 weeks or diet break for 4 weeks, just to kind of, catch a breather, for lack of a better term. But if you're feeling good, you don't feel super tired, you don't feel like you're like bordering on crazy hunger, that sort of thing, hey man, keep rolling. You don't need to reverse diet. You don't need to diet break. Keep rolling. But, they can be useful tools. But if you don't feel like you need one and you feel like you're rolling along, you don't have to do one. What do I eat for each meal every day to ensure I'm getting the required macros? Does carbon offer a suggestion on what to eat at all? You guys have no idea how complicated that would be to institute. It is something we'd like to offer in the future, but you cannot possibly imagine the level of complexity. You cannot possibly imagine it, especially if you want it to be custom and not just cookie cutter BS. So no, it does not offer that. What I eat each meal every day changes from day to day. I mean, I have some things that are kind of staples, but I eat what I want, basically, and I just track my macros. It's easy. This may be off topic, but diet fads always pop up. So do supplement fads, ectosterone, turkesterone, all over the place right now with a lot of evidence-backed claims. Any thoughts? Yes. Much like fads of all types, none of them are new. They're all regurgitated. Ectosterone was something that people were big on, supplement companies were big on 20 years ago when I first got in the industry, and everyone's like, oh, take ectosterone, get like steroid-like gains, bro. It doesn't do shit. It does nothing. It's a bug hormone. In fact, if you go to pubmed.gov right now, which is where you can find pretty much every study that's ever been done on this sort of thing, we're just going to do a little experiment here, because I'm pretty sure I did this the other day. Ectosterone resistance training, lean body mass. No results were found. Hey, look at that. Check that out. No results. And so these supplement companies, because they're not ingenuitive, and because, like our supplements, the Outwork line is all very basic, like in terms of like, we don't have a ton of ingredients. There's not much on there that you probably wouldn't recognize, that sort of thing. These companies are, well, that's too hard to make money that way. So we have to convolute stuff. We have to, create things that are amazing and new. Well, it's not new. It's been around for 20 years, and they dig it up like a zombie every 10 years and bring it back up, just like the ketogenic diet, just like intermittent fasting. It comes back around, and in 10 more years, it'll come back around again. And it was bullshit then, it's bullshit now, and it'll be bullshit 10 years from now. Speaking of ectosterone. All right, let's see here. Guys, I'm not trying to be a hater, but some of you guys, the questions, you have to think about, if you want to get the right answer, you have to ask the right question. Doing a reverse is a bad time to add creatine. It might throw the app off. Who cares if it does? If it does, you'll like gain like a little bit more weight 1 week. Maybe it'll think your calories are too high. Okay, so it'll drop your calories. Well, what's going to happen after you stabilize is your calories will now be too low, and you won't gain the amount of weight the app is thinking you should, and it'll raise them back up. So if you're just patient and you trust the process, the app will get it right. Now, if you're really worried about that 1 week, then what I would suggest is just marking non-compliant for that week. Moctezuma, out of curiosity, does the body have a definitive metric to determine when it will gain weight versus when it will adjust its metabolism after a small calorie increase? No. None that I'm aware of. None that I've been able to use reliably to predict that sort of thing. I think I'll join Carbon Diet Coach. Thank you so much. Juan says, I love Carbon Diet. It's so damn easy to use, and I use a lot of apps like this. Thank you, sir. I'm 5'11", 144 pounds, 10% body fat. I just started carbon fat loss to try to get down to 6 to 8%, but I'm wondering if I should start gaining first or reverse diet instead. It depends on what your goals are, man. But I'll tell you, again, like maybe that's the body type you're going for. So I don't want to judge it. I don't know what your goals are. A lot of you guys, you want me to give you your goals, tell you this should be your goal. I have no idea. I have no idea what your goal should be. That's up to you. I will say that at 5'11", 144 pounds, you probably don't have a whole lot of lean body mass on you. So I think based on what the type of physique most people say they're looking for that follow me, I would say you're probably better off doing a lean gaining phase. But again, I'm not making judgment. Maybe that's what you're going for. Gotta thank you for the app. Love having the objectivity to allowing me to get out of my own head. Oh God, Kelsey. That's my nanny, by the way. No, there's no doorknob. I miscommunicated with Robert, and I thought that he was going to grab one and bring it to install. So tell him I said I apologize, and I'm up to his recommendation, or if he can figure out a way to key that lock. Sorry, guys, just taking care of personal stuff on live. How do I do the lean gaining phase? I would check out my post from today, Skyrim Gains. By the way, love Skyrim. Great game. I don't want my arms to get bigger. Should I stop lifting heavy on upper body days or just don't train arms? I would just drop your arm volume a lot. Is it realistic to have the goal of squatting 500 pounds and losing weight at the same time? Sure. I went from a 600-pound squat to a 650-pound squat while I lost 15 pounds a few years back. Jessica says, it's been hard watching my mom going through these fad diets, drinking weird teas, going through gastro distress, all for weight loss and avoiding diabetes. Trying to get her on carbon, but no luck so far. Yeah, I mean, it's that's somebody who just doesn't trust the process, right? It's the same thing as if, like, I mean, it's like the same reason that people are broke, okay? From a mechanics standpoint, does anybody disagree here that in order to acquire wealth, that you must earn more money than you spend? I think we all agree that that's true. So why are people broke? Well, it's not an earning problem. I mean, tons of people who earn over 6 figures are broke. Why? Because the habits. And tons of people, instead of doing the things that would allow them to acquire wealth, which is being smart with their money, keeping a budget, career advancement, working hard, being diligent, trusting the process, what do? Take my weekend seminar to learn how to flip houses using none of your own money and make 6 figures working from home 4 hours a week. Do you all really believe that? Like, I just sometimes I want to shake people who buy into these pyramid schemes and be like, don't you just think that if it was that easy, everyone would just do it? Like, it's not. Yeah, like there are some people who have dumb luck and get lucky, but that's not a way to acquire wealth in terms of like how you would recommend it to people. More often than not, people lose their ass in those schemes, okay? That pyramid scheme, that's your fad diet. That's your skinny tea. That's that stuff. So these are people who do not trust the process. They're not willing to delay gratification. By the way, willingness to delay gratification, one of the paramount things for achieving long-term lasting fat loss. And that's been actually shown in research studies that people who lose weight and keep it off are good at delaying gratification. So if you're somebody who always needs it now, it's your mindset that needs to flip. It's not a special diet you need. You need to flip your mindset, because if you keep chasing short-term gratification, you will keep getting the same things that you've always gotten. So Jessica, best of luck with your mother. That's not easy. I'm sorry she's going through that. I hate that these companies and people prey on the desperation of others. But at a certain point, we all need to be individually accountable, because those people, if every single person who had dollars stood up and said, we're not buying your bullshit anymore, guess what? They would have to change. But people don't do that. People want to believe in bullshit because it's easier than acknowledging personal responsibility. People don't like personal responsibility. Will you ever go on Joe Rogan podcast again? I'd love to go on Joe Rogan podcast again. But I think some of you guys don't realize there's like levels to fame. Like, I can't like call up Joe and be like, hey bro, let's do a podcast. Like, he has like really, really important people who want to get on that podcast. So I'd imagine he wouldn't mind having me on again, but I imagine I'm kind of far down his list if I'm being honest. Or appear on American Glutton podcast. So I've already been on American Glutton. Love Ethan, great guy. Check out my episode on there. Please consider adding a family account option. I'd like my fiance to join my membership instead of her using MyFitnessPal. Chad, no hate. It's $10 a month. If she wants a membership, I would suggest that she get a membership. and you guys will be paying $19.98 per month. And I think for what the app does, that is a reasonable ask. Do you have a plan to add activity tracking in the app? No, we do not, because these things are not accurate. They're not accurate. They overestimate exercise energy expenditure by 23 to 93% based on the latest meta-analysis of the data. So people are like, well, I burned 500 calories when I worked out. No, you didn't. You burned more like 300 to 450. Okay, so we are not going to add that in because those are not accurate, and the app doesn't need it anyway, because from a practical perspective, if it knows what your rate of loss should be, and it knows how much weight you've gained or lost, and it knows how many calories you've eaten, it knows what your total daily energy expenditure is by default, because we've built that we've built that into the back end of the algorithm seamlessly. So if you just track your intake and you weigh in daily and log that in the app, within a few weeks, your app will know what your total daily energy expenditure is. Been following you since high school, and thanks to you, I've gained roughly 35 pounds of lean body mass and now a professional baseball player in the Tampa area. Thanks for what you do. Man, that's freaking awesome. Do you play for the Rays? I'm not angling for tickets, by the way. I'm just curious. Awesome. Chad says, Roger that. Thanks for answering. I agree. Hard time getting her to follow. Well, listen, if $10 is the barrier, then, I mean, she wasn't really bought in anyway, right? Last question. What is the best way to estimate calories and macros when eating out in random restaurants? I completely stopped eating out because I didn't know how to calculate the calories. So there's a few different ways to do this, but first off, you have to acknowledge that if you eat out, you are adding possible error into it. Now, I'm not saying don't eat out. I'm just saying that you have to acknowledge that you're adding some error in. So I say this because people will be like, well, I'm eating 1,500 calories a day and not losing weight. And you find out they're eating out each week. In reality, they're probably eating a lot more than they think they are. So just one, acknowledge that. Secondly, when it comes to, oh, by the way, Lisa had a great idea. Buy the whole year up front, and then you're each paying about $6 a month. And then basically you paid about the same. Anyway, so when you go out, there's two options. You can either kind of look at what you're having and say, okay, I had some of this, protein source, I had some of this, as a starch or whatever it is, I had some of these. And then you kind of put the ingredients of your food in individually, if you understand that well enough. And then when you do that, make sure you just add 15 grams of oil on top of that, at least, probably more like 20. I specifically request minimal oil when I eat at restaurants, because if you do not request that, they will douse your food with it. Because if you've ever been out to a restaurant and if they do list the calories on the food, you start looking over it, you'll be like, how in the hell did they get 2,000 calories in a salad? Dressing, oil, nuts, bacon, all that kind of stuff. So you need to understand that. Now, the next thing you can do is if the dish is like a popular dish, like for example, like a lot of places have like chicken parmesan, that sort of thing. You can search for chicken parmesan or whatever it is, and you can say, okay, just take a rough guess of what it is. So those are kind of the two ways to do it. I'm pretty good at it because I've been tracking for a long period of time, and I really understand portion sizes really well. But yeah, I just understand that you're adding some error in, and that's okay. But if you don't make progress a certain week, it's less likely that your metabolism is stalling or something like that. It's more likely that you just ate more than you thought when you were out. The other thing you can do is overestimate what you're eating by 20%. So whatever you think it is, just add 20% to that if the goal is fat loss. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. Our app is Carbon Diet Coach, available on iOS and Android. It is $9.99 a month, or as Lisa so astutely pointed out, it is $6.67 a month if you pay for the whole year up front. We've had an amazing response. Listen, it's the best thing. Like I love our supplement line. I love our coaching, like all this kind of stuff. But in terms of like value, there is no better value than this app. I cannot recommend it highly enough, and I use it to coach myself. So yeah, I'm super proud of this, and I think you guys would love it. The Good-Hearted Philadelphia Phillies organization in Clearwater. Awesome, man. Congratulations. Just signed my contract. If you ever want tickets to an MLB game I'm part of, just let me know. Awesome. Yeah. Send me a DM, man. I played baseball in high school, so not that that's anywhere close, but I love baseball. Was my first love growing up. So, all right, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll catch you next time. Facebook, YouTube. Lerone, I know you had a question. I didn't get to it. I'm sorry, buddy. Hang on one second. Let me just look up here real quick because you're my dude. Where was it? I tell you what, Lerone. Oh, I feel a lot hungrier after 3 or 4 weeks of diet break. You said my calories are cutting about 2,500. Lerone, I'm not sure I quite understand the question. DM me and I'll go over it for you because I got to end this live. But send me a DM, buddy. See you guys. Have a great weekend.